All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday morning, and we're going to talk about how this girl just learned that the camera points both ways. So, DoorDash Girl, hashtag DoorDash Girl. And there's other stuff going on in the news, but I want to hit this one this morning because this is actually, this touches on a lot of things that are important to talk about. So, the story, as it was initially reported, this chick, Olivia Henderson, well, she claimed she was sexually assaulted by a customer while she was working for DoorDash, and she filmed it. She got her evidence. Except, turns out that appears to not be what actually happened. Okay, I've got this video that I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys, and we're basically going to go through it and cover. This kind of covers her claim. I don't think there's any. Is there no audio?
That's fucked up.
Which is very low audio.
Hey guys, so DoorDash just deactivated me 2 days after I could.
I'm going to pause it right there. And it says a man named Austin orders DoorDash, selects the option to have the order left at the door, sees his DoorDasher, me, she says, has a feminine name, falls asleep, she puts it in scare quote, falls asleep on the couch with his pants and underwear to his ankles and his front door wide open in 59-degree weather. So this is what I see when I have to leave the order. And I'm not going to back it up any more than that because we don't want to see homeboy's junk on the show. Oh, by the way, let me give you guys a heads up. If any of you doubts what I'm saying about this, is curious about the story, whatever, for whatever reason, you might want to go and look it up for yourself. I encourage you always to fact check me. Right, to go ahead and double check on anything I'm telling you. I'm not shy about you looking at my sources, but caveat, let me give you a warning about this because it didn't occur to me when I first started doing the research to pull together the various pieces of information on the story this morning. If you search DoorDash Girl video, there is apparently a whole subgenre category of basically porno that ranges from anywhere from kind of role reversal on the plumber with the big pipe all the way up to DoorDash Girl rape fantasy stuff. So if you feel the need to go and look it up and try to find the stuff, like I'm going to tell you in a minute about another video related to this one. Sorry, I had to move my heater over. It's a little too close to my ankle. Just be aware that you might see some stuff. And it's not good stuff. It's not good stuff. It's not good for you. So just be aware of that before you go trying to look into this one. Understand you're opening a can of worms. So anyway, she posts the video, and I want you to notice that she walked away. She left his door open and walked away, right? And then she posted this cat, Feared Buck, on X, posted this video where he stitched together several videos that she's posted giving the updates on the situation. So we're going to go through this a little bit before we go into the rest of the reveal on it.
Hey guys, so DoorDash just deactivated me 2 days after I reported my sexual assault. Hey guys, I just lost my job, and they won't tell me why. They're supposed to send an email immediately after deactivation providing you the reason why and a link to appeal, and they didn't. So I contacted support and they made me sit on the phone with them for 50 minutes just to tell me that they can't tell me the reason why and I have to just go ahead and appeal without knowing why.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Let's take her at her word. Let's assume for a moment that everything happened exactly as she suggested that it did in this original clip here. Because what she claims here is that she approached this man's private home where he was naked and asleep on the couch, and the front door was open. Okay. So if we take her at her word that everything happened the way she described it, honey, you were not sexually assaulted. Even in the story that you told, which we're going to get to in a minute, is a false claim, right? Even the lie that she told does not rise to sexual assault. In fact, what we have here is you saw a naked man in his private home. Okay, look, we joke about this a bit. We've joked about this a bit before on the show. Like, mom and dad have a nice piece of property with a nice swimming pool on it, and we will jokingly tell people, hey, coming up the driveway, honk the horn because the old man might be swimming in the back, right? But let me be clear about something. You're allowed to be naked, right? On your private property, in your private home, right? Even if I want to walk out on my land and go back in the woods and build a bonfire and strip down naked and dance around it, forget about whether or not that makes me a nut. That's my business. And plain and simple, if I'm in the woods on my property dancing naked, right? And I'm using this example for a reason, because in that example I'm wide awake and taking active action. I'm physically moving around, right? I'm waggling my junk out there in the air to keep it, to get that nice breeze on it, whatever. Point is, if you can see me in that circumstance, either we're related or you're trespassing. Okay? If you can see me and we're not related, or you weren't invited to come and watch, you are engaged in crime. Now, I have seen some comments about how about the expectation of privacy and, you can't just take pictures of somebody in their own home, even if they left the windows open, et cetera. Well, that's actually not true. So you can take pictures of, here's how that works. You can use your camera, your phone, whatever. You can photograph anything that you can see from anywhere you're allowed to be. Okay? So if she was standing on the sidewalk in front of the house and she took pictures from there, then she would not be engaged in crime. That said, if you then distribute that material, and that material is of an illicit surveillance nature, now you're getting into muddier waters, because there's the question of the protection for journalism, the press, etc. You film what you can see from where you're allowed to be. Okay, cool. Fair enough. I promise you, if you can see me dancing naked around a fire in the middle of the woods, you are not somewhere you're allowed to be. There's not enough. There's too much land between where you're allowed to be and where you're filming me. You in trouble, right? Now this one, She's taken the picture from his front porch, and God, I hate to go back. Yeah, she's on his porch leaning into the door, right? She leans in the door to take the picture. And then she tells us that she got fired for this. And of course, the narrative we're supposed to believe here is that DoorDash is just such a big evil company that they're covering up her sexual assault and blaming the victim because she's a victim of sexual assault. Okay. Like I said, back to the beginning of it. We take her at her word. She showed up, the door was wide open, and she took pictures of the naked man asleep on his sofa. Okay, there is a legal term of art called the curtilage of a property, right? That is the part of the property that is exterior to the home, but therewith included as part of the real property, right? That's your front yard, your backyard, right? Anything within the confines, within the bounds of the property. There is a difference between your rights as the landowner and homeowner, because a landowner and a homeowner are not legally the same thing. They are two legally distinct things. If you own a home on land, which you also own, then you are a landowner and a homeowner. Now, that distinction mostly doesn't matter for the majority of people, because even people who own land they don't live on, once you're at the level that you're purchasing land that is land in excess of the land that you live on, you're probably not renting, but it's possible. So let's say you're living in an apartment that you're renting in the city, and you own, a 100-acre hobby farm in the middle of nowhere, but your rental property, for whatever reason a person would just take a shit on their tax statements this way, is listed as your primary residence. Okay, then you can be a landowner without being a homeowner. It's possible. On the other side of it, you can be a homeowner without being a landowner if you bought an apartment. Because believe it or not, I know I've got an audience full of relatively intelligent, sane, rational people. So it may not have occurred to you, but believe it or not, there are people who will buy homes, buildings. They will buy things without buying the land that they're on. The first time I encountered this personally, intellectually, yes, Patrick, I know we're getting to that. I know the story. I'm setting this up on purpose. I gotcha. In Hawaii, if you're not a native-born Hawaiian, you can't own land. You can lease it for 99 years. So if you buy a house, you're a white boy, you get stationed at Schofield Barracks and decide you're going to buy a house off base. A local owns the land that your house is on, and they can just sell that land. Now, the law protects you to some extent. They have to give you some kind of fair market value for the building, but they can just decide to sell the land, and you have no say in it. That seems like a wild tangent, but it's important for this story, because what we have here is this girl trespassed. All right. Now, this is an important distinction. Her claim is that he selected leave at door. So the contract of bailment that was allotted to her is similar to the contract of bailment that you have as a delivery recipient with any of the big, like FedEx, UPS, USPS. You have a contract of bailment, and that is that for the purpose of delivering the package as ordered, the deliverer is allowed to enter the curtilage of the property and no further. right? Unless you give them explicit instructions, FedEx does not bring your new coffee maker, walk into the house, and place it on the kitchen counter. That would be, in the best of circumstances, trespassing. Once you start entering the physical structure, breaching the plane of the edifice, now you're into burglary. Because remember, burglary is not the taking of property; it is the entering of secure location. And that, I'm sure you've all heard that you should leave your windows. You should make sure that you have your doors locked in your car, even if the windows are down. Because if somebody reaches in the car or opens the door, it changes your legal standing. Well, that has to do with the legality of the physical boundary, right? A house with no doors is still a house. So her claim is that this man who took no physical action beyond being naked in his own home sexually assaulted her. And what I was trying to drive home there, before we get into whether or not her claim is credible, is that even her what we will about to show is her false claims do not rise to the actual claim she's making.
On the phone with them for 50 minutes just to tell me that they can't hit me. This is related. They just punished me for posting about my sexual assault while door dashing.
Again, you, honey, were not sexually assaulted. You weren't. You saw a naked man. And according to your own claims, he didn't make a comment. He didn't make a gesture. He happened to be naked. I've seen some comments on X while I was looking into this earlier. People say, "Well, it's weird that he's passed out on the couch naked. He's naked from the waist down, but he's wearing a hoodie." Okay, fair. I'll give you that one. That seems odd. It also seems like none of your damn business, right? I mean, personally, I don't put my naked ass on the sofa in my own home. I own that sofa. I own that home. I don't sit my naked ass on my sofa. Because guess what? I own that sofa, which means I have to clean it. So my naked ass doesn't go on the sofa. Fair enough, right? Now, I'm sure somebody can think of many reasons why he might be in that situation. Maybe he was shit-faced drunk and decided he wanted to lay down naked on the sofa and just didn't finish getting his clothes off. But the point is, it doesn't matter. He was in his private home. Her instructions were to leave the package at the door. Whether the door was open or not, irrelevant. Her instructions were to leave the package at the door. And like I said, she has the let of bailment to go that far and no further. Now, if she could see him naked on the couch from the sidewalk and film from there, that might be another question. But she's clearly on his front porch, leaning into his door, filming him, and then posting that on the internet and making the claim that this man has committed a crime while he was asleep, apparently. So, okay, I think I've beleaguered that enough. The fact being that the important piece of the information being that even if her claims as described were true, they do not entail a sexual assault. she's an idiot. More importantly, she's a professional victim. This chick she did go. She went by at IRL Monster High Doll was her handle on TikTok and Instagram. And I've looked, she's not there anymore. But this image on the right of her in the little push up bustier there, flexing for the camera, that's from what I've been able to find from archive stuff. That's basically what her content was. So she was essentially appears to have been essentially an aspiring OnlyFans model who was door dashing to keep herself in lager and Legos until she could make it big in the whore business. So this is a girl. I'm gonna give this. I'm going to defend her a little bit and blame a bit of this on society. Because it looks like this girl is clout chasing and trying to become a professional online whore, and thought that somehow she would gain the notoriety that would go along with this. And like I mentioned earlier, unbeknownst to me as I began the research portion for the show this morning, there's apparently a whole subgenre of adult material related to fantasies about ordering food from DoorDash, specifically DoorDash, and that turning into an adult encounter. Maybe I'm just too vanilla because I'm so old and white. I don't understand. I don't understand how a person's mind goes that far wrong. Right? I can see ordering some food and the delivery driver is a cute chick and you look at her and you think, man, she's cute. I'd spend some time with her. I don't understand how that becomes everybody who's in that profession should be archetypically represented by that person, and I should extrapolate that to making not the beautiful woman the arousing and interesting material, but rather the fact of her employment. I don't get that. I just don't get that. Like, I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times women say, "I love a man in uniform," right? Chicks tend to fetishize soldiers, firefighters, cops. You hear them called badge bunnies, things like that. And like, my wife's got Navy uniforms and they look good on her because she's built in such a way that she looks good in clothes. And I mean, frankly, without them, but that's beside the point for this conversation. And in those cases, it's not. In those cases, it's quite different because you have the fairer sex fetishizing the attributes that are non-aesthetic, right? I mean, there is a certain aesthetic that goes along with the uniform, but what they're fetishizing there, what they're romanticizing and fantasizing about is the character of the soldier, the firefighter, the policeman, right? The warrior, the protector, the worker, the, basic thing that a man should be by attribute and service. When you're fetishizing food delivery drivers. I mean, you're not saying, oh, I like a stevedore because they're so big and strong from all that heavy lifting all day, right? What is the attribute? Ooh, give me one of them DoorDash chicks. I bet she's got daddy issues and a drug habit. Okay, fair play. That may be the case. In fact, given that this is what she's putting on the internet, yeah, there's probably some daddy issues and maybe a little pot smoking in there. I don't think you got meth in that mix. I don't think you got coke or anything. You know, maybe some ADHD drugs, and a little pot in that mix. Maybe she drinks a little too much. You know, modern kids. But yeah, but Cade, you must have just tuned in because I was just talking about why the delivery fantasy doesn't make sense, right? In fact, frankly, it doesn't make sense to fetishize any woman based on her profession because, well, frankly, we need to repeal the 19th and start treating women like women again. So let's take a look at what has now developed. This is the most recent development. Ex-DoorDash worker arrested after naked customer sexual assault video. A fired DoorDash delivery driver in New York has been arrested after she shared footage online of a customer exposed from the waist down and alleged it was sexual assault. Yeah, it gets better. Olivia Henderson, who everybody knows her name now, she outed herself when she tried to dox this poor naked sleeping man. Posted several videos on TikTok in which she described the incident on October 12th, including one that appeared to show a customer lying on a couch. Publicly available arrest records seen by Newsweek said Henderson faces 2 felony charges of disseminating surveillance imagery and unlawful surveillance. Newsweek contacted the Oswego Police Department and the attorney representing Henderson via mail on Sunday outside of regular business hours for comment. Why it matters. Filming a person without their knowledge is a complex legal issue. If someone is filmed in a place like their home where they have a reasonable expectation of privacy without their consent, it can be a criminal offense. And notice they're hedging their language here. It can be. They didn't say it is. They said it can be a criminal offense. Like I was explaining earlier, you know, if somebody's dancing in front of their open window and you can see them clearly from the sidewalk outside, you're not on their private property. That's a very different creature. Now, says some 81% of women and 41% of men in the U.S. experience some sort of sexual harassment or assault, according to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. Gig economy workers who are likely to interact with customers in a private setting face particular risks. Okay, there's a lot to break down there. First off, this right here, 81% of women and 41% of men, bullshit. Bullshit. How do we get to that number? These are the wages of the Me Too movement. Okay, I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but this is Me Too shit, right? This is that believe all women nonsense garbage. Because in the post Me Too age, what counts as sexual assault? Well, for women, it's a man that I wasn't interested in asked me to go out for coffee. Right? Make no mistake. What 30, 40 years ago, we would have considered just normal interaction between the sexes. Right? Hey, my name's Chris. I wanted to say hello and see if you'd like to get a cup of coffee sometime. Now, I'm not going to get charged with sexual assault over that for so many reasons, not least of which is I'm tall and pretty. But your chunky little friend with the lopsided eyebrows, he might get charged with sexual assault for doing the exact same thing. And the difference is whether or not that woman subjectively found him attractive or found his offer subjectively attractive. So this idea that 81% of women experience some form of sexual harassment or assault is a fucking lie. I've included in that statistic are stories like the one that I've told you guys about the little girl at DLI, right? This 20, 21, 22-year-old chick, while Mario and Fee and the cast were at DLI, she claimed it was either 8 or 9 times. I think it was 8 total. She filed 8 separate rape claims on 8 different men in her time at DLI. And it was on the 8th claim happened after change of responsibility, new commander took over, and he looked at the record and said, "Now hold on a minute. This girl keeps getting raped at hotel parties." Right? And by policy, y'all aren't supposed to be having hotel parties, but let's put that aside for a moment. She keeps going back to hotel parties and getting raped and then filing that she was raped at a hotel party. And then we take a soldier and ruin him. We strip away his clearance. We throw him out of the military, gets a dishonorable discharge. He's essentially a felon now. But she keeps going back to the parties and doing it again. Something's wrong here. That's right. Something's wrong here. That little girl's not getting raped. She's going out being a whore and then weaponizing her sexuality to cause harm to people. Now, is it because she regrets making bad decisions? Or is it because she gets some perverse pleasure out of hurting people? Or let's be real, in the situation that I'm talking about, there's a high degree of probability that she's an active foreign agent whose mission is to degrade the ranks by removing up-and-coming soldiers. Because she wasn't picking off low-hanging fruit. She wasn't finding triple threats who were failing their classes, failing their PT, and failing their fitness body composition standards, right? She was sleeping with the kind of dudes that other girls wanted to sleep with, right? Thankfully, I met my wife before I ran into this chick. I never had to worry about the bitch, but she was hooking up with guys who were in good shape, who were fit, who were doing their job, who were learning their language, who probably had bright, successful, useful military careers and would have been assets to the force. And she managed to eliminate 8 of them before she was caught and removed. Now, we never knew if she was actually a foreign agent or if she was just a twisted psychopath. I have my guesses. And frankly, I lean toward twisted psychopath, not foreign agent. But point being that was a real part of that threat. And thankfully, new commander caught it and did something about it. Right? The old commander didn't figure it out, despite several of us trying to explain it to him. But that was a big deal. And that's something that happens all over the professional world now. Right? It would amaze me if we were to examine if we were to examine official claims of sexual assault or harassment, right? Don't even have to look at actual rape claims, just sexual harassment, sexual assault. It would amaze me if we were to go through the list of them in professional settings, in corporate offices, and find anything less than about 50 or 60% corresponded with the victim being promoted. It is a lie. And here's the real tragedy of it. Sexual abuse is a thing. It does happen. Compared to the statistics that we're told over and over again, it is a vanishingly rare occurrence and phenomenon. It is especially vanishingly rare among women who, I don't know, get married and raise a family and just don't enter that target-rich environment. They don't walk down that particular dark alley because they made a reasonable security and strategic decision as part of planning their life forward, right? But compared to the number of stories, the number of claims that are out there where the victim ends up getting promoted because suddenly there's a spot open in the organization, the incidents of her the incidents of legitimate reports in professional circumstances are vanishingly rare. Now, as this story develops, as it goes on, we learn that, Henderson was arrested on November 10th and facing 2 Class E felony charges. She posted multiple videos about the incident, which amassed millions of views. She said that she had filmed and shared the footage on social media, though this post was removed. She has been removed, apparently, from X, from TikTok, and from Instagram. And after millions of views, which means that she was making money on this. And we cannot discount the high degree of probability that she saw that she could make some money and did. She's clout chasing. She's trying to make some money putting a video online. Fair play. I mean, what am I doing right now? I'm trying to make some money putting a video online, which, by the way, like, share, subscribe. And hey, you got a bunch of people talking in the comments there. Y'all should give each other freebies. After she shared the footage online, she was terminated from DoorDash. The company said in a statement at the time, posting a video of a customer in their home and disclosing their personal details publicly is a clear violation of our policies. That is the sole reason that this Dasher account was deactivated, along with the customers while we investigated. So they banned him from DoorDash because he was naked in his own home. And they banned her from DoorDash because she doxed a customer. Okay. I would say that given that she made the claim, even if the claim is unreasonable, that the claim was made, it is reasonable for DoorDash to investigate the claim and examine the evidence presented, and to probably come to the correct conclusion when the investigation is completed. And when I say investigate, DoorDash did in fact involve themselves with the local police to follow up on that investigation. And then hopefully his DoorDash account was restored. I say hopefully because that's probably something that he wants. Frankly, I mean, why are you dealing with DoorDash? Son, go to the grocery store, buy some food. If you want to get some food from a restaurant, go your ass to the restaurant. Right? You don't need to pay the extra, 15, 20, 30% to have somebody else bring it to you. Right? Whatever. I'm not a big fan of DoorDash and all those entities, but that's got more to do with their involvement with criminal, hostile foreign aliens and all that nonsense. But back to it. So turns out she had herself contacted the police about the incident Henderson said in a TikTok video that she had herself contacted the police about the incident after being encouraged to by people on social media. So she called the cops and reported this guy. God, I wish I had that 911 recording. 911, what's your emergency? I saw a naked man. Oh God, are you in the park? Are you out in public? Did he attack you? No, he was asleep on the sofa in his own private home. Honey, this line is for emergencies. Do you understand that? Because clearly you don't. So it goes on. Okay, let me throw this one up here. Got this other article. I thought that one mentioned it. Ex-DoorDash worker arrested after naked customer fired DoorDash delivery. Olivia Henderson. What matters? Is this the same? Damn it, Patrick! You sent me the same. You sent me the article that I already had pulled up. You failed. You failed. Okay, so. The police investigated. What did they find? They got a copy of the Ring camera footage from the customer's home. Turns out his door was not open. She walked up, opened his door, and then leaned in to film him asleep and naked on his sofa. And then screamed, "Victim, victim, I'm the victim." I've got 3 daughters. I want them to live happy lives. They're all young enough that they still think they don't want to have kids. Well, you know, when you're a kid, you don't understand, right? We talk about thresholds often, and you cannot transmit back across the threshold to someone who hasn't crossed it yet. I cannot. If you're not a parent, if you've never been married, you've never been in a gunfight, if you've never been shot at, if you've never driven a car, if you've never been a homeowner. Right? If you've never owned property, if you've never been to Napa Valley or Mount Katahdin or whatever, right? If you've never been to Spain, if you've never watched an old monk hand carve gorgeous sculpture out of marzipan and paint it with food coloring glaze, I can tell you that that's all cool. Right? If you've never woken up to the 155 guns blowing off right outside your tent, I can tell you that shit's alarming. Right? If nobody's ever tried to murder you with an exploding motorcycle, I can tell you that shit's scary. But I cannot adequately transmit to you the actual knowing of that. Right? Try to explain to a child what it's like to be an adult. Well, you have to pay bills. That can be hard sometimes. You have to work and make money so that you can pay those bills. Right? Tell that to somebody who's never had to do it. And they simply cannot understand. They just can't. Right? I mean, have you ever been married, wife and kids at home, sole breadwinner, and looking at a $0 balance in your checking account? And asking yourself the question, do I tell my wife we're broke? Or do I suck it up like a damn man and fix the problem? Or do I do both? right? I can tell you that a person can experience that. I cannot teach you the lessons that you learn from experiencing it. I can tell you to avoid it. I can tell you how to avoid it. I can offer you creative solutions to solve the problem, right? You're 19 years old. Your girlfriend tells you she's pregnant. You've got a job, but it's a shitty job. Maybe you're flipping burgers or something, and you're making enough money to put gas in the car, go to the movies, and date your little girlfriend once a week. But you suddenly realize, I can't buy a house on this. I can't feed a family on this. I can't buy diapers, pay for childcare. I can't keep my woman at home as a stay-at-home mom on this money. You know what, though? You can finish AIT for about 80% of all modern military occupational specialties before the babies do. You can go be a soldier. You can solve that problem, right? But do you know that when it happens to you? Right? Modern world, we have a real challenge. The Me Too movement, is just another outcropping of feminism. Feminism, make no mistake, feminism is sex communism. It's race communism for women. It is the leveling process all over again. It is women being told the lie that they can do everything a man can do as good as a man can do it. Do you know why you never hear anybody say a man can do anything a woman can do? Right? When's the last time you heard somebody say a man can do anything a woman can do? Hell no. You'll be told that women can be more creative, that they can be smarter, that they can have higher emotional intelligence. Oh, and by the way, they can have and feed babies. And you'll hear that, oh, trans men can become pregnant. So there are pregnant people. We shouldn't say mothers because it's not inclusive of pregnant people. Okay. Whenever you hear that, you can dismiss that person because they're insane. And I don't mean that hyperbolically. Oh, you crazy, Tiffany. You crazy. No, that's not hyperbole. Right? Psychosis is breaking with reality. A person who believes that a man can become pregnant is psychotic. Like a person who believes that a man can become pregnant belongs in an asylum. They're psychotic. They're a threat to you personally. They're dangerous. Okay. So we can put that category aside. The leveling process is when the lesser looks at someone who's greater than they are and fails to understand that that attribute belongs to an individual category. All right. Go back and watch the deep dive from a couple weeks ago on the philosophy of aesthetics. And we talk about the leveling process quite a bit in there. But to see the beautiful is to see the divine. And the Marxist, the race communist, the sex communist, the feminist, the socialist, the communist generally, what they see is everywhere in the world that there is good, it must be made low. Equality is not only never achieved, it is never approached by the work of attempting to build up those who are less. Instead, they seek to tear down that which is greater. Now, I'm not making the argument here that men are greater than women. Like I said just a second ago, they miss the part where the attribute of greatness is an attribute of a particular category. Men are stronger than women. Right? We've talked about greater male variability theory on the show before many times. And I find it obnoxious that it's referred to as greater male variability theory, because there's no theory about it. It is mere fact. Men are more diverse than women. Women tend to cluster around the mean, right? Women tend to cluster around the average. Women tend to be closer in height to one another, closer in general body composition, closer in intelligence than one another. The result is there are more men who are smarter than everybody else, including all women. And there are more men who are dumber. Right? So essentially you have women, and most of the women are right there, right dead average, most. And then you have men. And the average man is an effective worker, but a generally unimpressive specimen. He's somewhere in the range of 5'9", which is, here. He's somewhere in the neighborhood of moderately literate, reading at something like a high school sophomore, junior level, not competent to imbibe and consume dense text or especially deep thought, but certainly of adequate intelligence to understand instructions, to read a basic schematic. He can run a grill, he can build a car, he can read the instructions from an IKEA furniture manual, right? He's useful, he's functional, right? And that's dead average, right? But all of the geniuses tend to be men. And that's not to say there's no such thing as a woman who's a genius. But statistically, for every woman that's a genius, there are 1,000 men that are as smart or smarter. Because for every woman that's a complete retard, there are 1,000 men that are as dumb or dumber. Right? But there are women, you don't hear people make the argument, a man can do everything a woman can do just as well as she can do it. No. Nobody makes that argument. A man can do everything a man can do better than a woman can do it. And then there are things that men can do, which the women can do, which men cannot. Right? And that's an important distinction. No, Patrick, you are dead average because you're shorter. That you are dead average is to be shorter than me, Patrick. And in fairness, you're a little. You're what, 5'11"? You're a little above average. You're a little above average. You're just not this. Sorry, brother. I thought you knew that. But a man can do everything that a woman can do, which can also be done by a man, better than a woman can do it. This is so true that in order to pretend that men and women are interchangeable and equal, women are not paid equal pay for equal work. Instead, they are paid extra pay for lesser work. Give you two great examples. In the Army, in the military generally, and this is something that's changing now under Hegseth, men and women have two different physical standards. Men have to do more push-ups, more sit-ups. They have to run faster just to stay in the military. When they do the PT test, a woman is required to do less than half as many push-ups, less than half as many. Actually, I think they do about the same amount of sit-ups. Women are pretty good at sit-ups. As it turns out, women are pretty good at flexing them hips. But it's been so long since I looked at a PT chart, but a 25-year-old man has to run 2 miles. This is old PT standards. This is from when I was still active duty more than 10 years ago. Those standards have changed, but they've always had double standards for men and women. When I was in, it was something like minimum passing score for a man running 2 miles was, I think, 15 minutes and 35 seconds when I was 25 years old. A woman at my same age had almost a full 20 minutes to run the same 2 miles. She had like 19 minutes and 37 seconds to run the 2 miles. Now, I was slow. I tended to run my 2 miles in about 15 minutes flat. Right? Which is above the standard. Right? It's reasonable. I wasn't the fastest, but I'm running 2 miles in 15 minutes. Tell you something, if I can run 2 miles in 15 minutes, I can walk it in 20. And I know that for sure because there was a period where I had an injured knee, still had to take a PT test. And because my knee was injured, I didn't have to run the 2 miles. I had to walk it. And it took me 20 minutes. Right? But they get paid the same. They get paid the same. I want my little girls to grow up and be able to do whatever it is they want to do. But they're going to have to understand, and this is a tricky one. This is a tough balance to make. That when they're competing with men, if they find themselves competing with men on physical standards, they're at a disadvantage. And so instead of saying, well, you need to tear those men down and pretend like you're the same as they are, no, either you have to work harder because they have a physical advantage and you have to overcome that, or you should choose something else. Now, I thankfully, given the interest that my children have, I think my 13-year-old is going to be just fine. She's into baking, and if it comes to be an issue, she can hire some young stud to lift the 100-pound bags of flour that she's apparently going to need in the future, right? So that'll help save me from some of that. But I mean, guys, we got to talk to our daughters about stuff. It's like, listen, honey, baby girl, right? You're a pretty girl. Boys are going to come up and talk to you. Boys are going to want you to go have a cup of coffee with them and hope that goes somewhere, right? Now, somebody comes up and puts their hands on you, that's a problem. That's a problem for which we have solutions, right? But he says, hey, you want to go get a cup of coffee? And he just smells funny. That's not an assault. That's not harassment. And please believe you will not be the first one to have rejected him. I promise you, even the prettiest of us has been rejected once or twice. So I'm told. Right? But we'll be fine. You can say no. But being uninterested is not the same as being coerced. Race communism, sex communism, feminism ruined this little girl. Right? That's the most generous I can give her, is that, looking at her, I guess she's what, in the 19, 20, maybe 21 year range. She's, I'm presumably out of high school, likely. Okay, that's hot enough. I need to turn this heater off. Likely in college, right? You got a rich white girl in New York working for DoorDash. I just about guarantee she's in college, and some Marxist professor, some priest of the rotting red, has basically explained to her that every time a man looks in your direction, that's the male gaze. It's evil. It's the patriarchy. I'd just about bet a paycheck that she's had at least one Marxist professor tell her that men exist is identical with men want to kill all women. And I'm not speaking hyperbolically. There are, in fact, these psychopaths out there who hold what should seem like hyperbolically absurd opinions of that sort, and are paid through taxpayer subsidized university endowments to tell your children that they should hate you. And they tell them that they should hate you because you hate them. And they tell them, if you're white, that you're right to hate each other for being white. They are an infectious intellectual disease. And this girl is suffering from a terminal case of the social contagion that is gender psychopathy. Hopefully, she spends a little bit of time in jail, learns her lesson about, burglary, about unlawful entry to a private residence, and the horror that is doxing people, and gets out and recovers and goes on to live a good life and be a better person. But this isn't how you do it, girls. This isn't how you do it. Right? If somebody ever tells you sex work is real work, that is a person you do not need to have a relationship with. That is a person that hates you and your world and wants you to be eliminated. Okay. Now, this morning I've said some stuff that might get me thrown off of YouTube. We'll see. We're still on YouTube right now. If you are still watching on YouTube and freeloading, I want you to pop over. I want you to check out Rumble Premium. You've probably noticed Rumble's growing fast and it's not slowing down. I've said things on this show that have in fact gotten me thrown off of the other platforms before. Over at Rumble, they're building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech. Now there's Rumble Premium. It's an easy way to upgrade your experience. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform, no pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content you came for. Plus, Premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, like our deep dives where we discussed the idea, the aesthetic philosophy of seeing the beautiful is to behold the divine, behind-the-scenes stuff, and more from your other favorite creators as well, right? We're talking Russell Brand, we're talking Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, etc. Right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium, use the promo code STUDIO and at checkout, and that's rumble.com/premium, or you can scan the QR code there on the screen right there, or click on the pinned comment in the description. And that's no ads, more freedom, and content you actually care about. That's the deal. It's a good deal, right? And if you're signed in, even with a free account, then you can get the occasional random freebie drop. Aaron Olson just gave a free gift of membership to Timonian. Right? And our members do that. I do that. We give away free premium memberships periodically. And when you in order to get one, you got to be signed in. You could be a premium member, or you could be watching on a free subscription, but you got to be signed in to Rumble. You got to be watching while we're live at 0730 every weekday morning. And you have to have left a comment in the chat. If you're not active in the chat, when we start giving away the random freebies, you're not eligible to earn one, okay? So tune in, watch live, pay attention to the chat, make sure you're making comments, and every now and then you just might get hit with a freebie like Aaron Olson just got. Talk about giving back. Well, like I said, those are random, which is funny. Okay, so yeah, and guys, help me grow this beast, right? Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Right now, I'm only running the Brushfire Mind music project, the AI music videos that we've been doing. I'm only running those over on YouTube, precisely because the objective there is to grow the YouTube channel so that I can use it to send to kind of what am I trying to say? As a pipeline to get these videos over here, right? So before I let you guys go this morning, I'm going to go ahead and run you guys the latest new music video that we did. This one was published on Saturday, and this one I had a hard time with because I wrote this one more than 20 years ago. I've performed it all over the country, all over the world. I performed this one at an open mic in Spain. Believe it or not, there was an open mic at Kandahar in Afghanistan. I've done it in Atlanta. I've done it in Savannah, Georgia, Texas, New England, in Maine, in California, in Hawaii. But it was always this is the Declaration of the Heretic, and it was originally written to be performed in competitive slam poetry. The original spoken word version of this has paid for dinner, and drinks with the boys many times. Right. This was one of the ones that allows me to call myself a professional poet because I've been paid to perform it in front of audiences. I like how it turned out, but it was a bit of a struggle on this one because going into it, it wasn't originally written to be put to music. And so putting it to music proved to be a little tricky. But here's what I came up with. Try that again.
Slumping in something so sullen and lonely, guarded and daunted, tethered and haunted. I'm tied. I'm tied to the post in the middle of the corridor, tied to the post all alone. They've tied me to the post in the middle of the corridor, and they expect that I'll have died all alone. Walls all around, they reach toward the sky from the ground. Color the eyes on the walls round the courtyard. Cruel are the eyes in their god, cruel as he's flawed. Oh. Calloused and empty by malice and pity, surrounded, astounded, assisting in the eyes of the walls of the courtyard. Pierce and stare to the eyes in the courtyard. They chatter and rattle and pray. Those angry eyes that spin round the courtyard, the fear of my spirit away. It's been so long since they chained me to the ground. It's been a long time in passing. It's been a few years I've been tethered to the ground, and as long have the eyes been harassing. But to keep myself company, my thoughts sing in symphony, and I coldly consider I am Big Pentameter, sleeping and creeping the surrounding perimeter. Sing the songs of words and of war, of rights and wrongs that came before. They've tied me to the post in the middle of the courtyard, tied me up and left me for dead. I've a rope around my throat where I'm tethered in the courtyard, an awful taste for hate in my head. Once upon a time, when I first came to be tied, they taught me and haunt me. Once upon a time, but then they tied me here for far too long, confined and left to the flea. Fruit, fruit, oh, they're throwing fruit like candy as it rots in my teeth. Maybe on my own I'd starve to the bone, but the fish can't help but feed the beast. They've tied me to the post in the middle of the courtyard, tied me to the post with a rope around my neck in the middle of the courtyard. I cannot help but grope, and my fingers trace the trails of my binding to follow and flow across the grain. And all they know and report from finding is a distant end to this pain. For the rope's been braided from thick stout hemp and lash at the post in the center, and the threads of the rope, they chafe my neck and cannot slake my lust to re-enter the throes of humanity with their woes and calamity and gross blows of insanity. They hate for the living, they envy their living, they revel cures and their flaws and their laws and their gods and their odds with the life everlasting. The obsession with fasting, their fear of the flesh, their hate for the flesh, contempt for the flesh of another, their loathing of the lover. They hold on fast as they hope it to last, and they think for eternity to maintain fraternity, to hold on to brothers with anguish and bother, to pass obligations and calamitize nations.
That shovel of love and call it for sin, then again, begin again and through.
Through the binding from the phrase that I'm finding, and tether no longer the beast, for the beast is no demon. Not so is seeming, for the beast is a curse of the gray dead. The stumble about, not in and not out, neither hot nor cold. And for being lukewarm, the beast will spew them forth from his mouth. He will taste the man, vomit them out. For this beast is no devil, no man is no evil, but simply untethered at heart. He does not hate people, though we cannot conceive of the ways they take one another apart.
Loathing, unmasking for blinding confusion is sorrow and anguish like tea with infusion. So much apart that the weight of the heart when shuddering from these conclusions is a word worth of worry to carry and hurry to run from the mob's ill inclusions. If the beast is a man, he has leveled his hand and made for himself new decisions. Here stands the beast, cast free and unleashed and covered by company with souls singing sweet symphony. The dynamic pentameter was coldly considered and free to consider while sweeping the perimeter and cast out free and unleashed.
Free maybe, but not yet from thee, but free from the leash at least. Though chained to humanity, its woes and calamity confine still the soul of the beast.
But me, he no devil and neither evil, for only
He knows to survive and cry for loving and screaming for something and dying to stay alive. But trapped in the world, in the land of the living, whenever another knows that my thoughts sing in symphony to keep my soul company and never another to know.
And that next video that was about to play, the My Precious from Wicked AI, that one's worth checking out too. But yeah, so over on YouTube, the Brushfire Mind, look for the playlist, the Brushfire Music Project, and I'm going to try to figure out how to start putting those on something like Spotify, etc., and build that out a bit. So yeah, you guys go watch those. There's 8 or 9 of them now, and share the shit out of those. Help me build this thing up, and let's take Brushfire Mind to the next level, guys. Thanks for watching this morning. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.